All right, I bet you never thought this was happening, but this is the F1 Monaco Grand Prix preview. Now, even in the previous years when I didn't necessarily watch F1 because, it's road course racing and stuff, it wasn't that interesting to me, I would always watch Monaco because, let me get this moved a little bit closer, because, look, I watch races that have a high historical significance, and Monaco's is that for F1. Just quick entering the Monaco weekend. Right now, it's looking like the weekend's going to be dry up until Sunday's race. They're saying, it depending on where you look, it's anywhere from 10 to 85% chance of rain during the race on Sunday for Monaco. So I'm going to assume that rain is going to be in the forecast for the actual race. It won't be in the forecast for the practice session, so keep that in mind. If it does go that way, we can look towards drivers who are getting the rain. But anyway, just entering Monaco as a general intro and as a general preview, we're not going to see a lot of passing here. Track position is going to be everything. The way you're going to make positions up is one, short pitting, and you have about a 18-second, 21-second fall off or loss of time whenever you do pit. And I imagine that we're going to see the leaders trying to short pit each other. Qualifying is going to be huge because, in my honest opinion, I don't, even with the rain, I don't believe we're going to see gigantic changes in track position. So for fantasy and looking at it like that, I think it's very much a case of what was the race. It wasn't Spain. It was the one before Miami that had, it was Italy, the one that had the sprint for right, it was Italy, right? I don't remember off the top of my head right now. Anyway, and at least in my opinion, it's very similar to the F1 race that had the sprint the day before to both give out points and set the qualifying grid for the main event on Sunday, because we didn't really see a lot of passing. And so when we constructed our DraftKings lineups, we ended up with a lot of drivers outside of our cheap guys, our one or two cheap value plays. All of our guys were guys starting inside the top 10 or starting like 12th and bordering on a points paying position. But entering this weekend, I think it's full on, let's play guys starting inside the top 10. We're not going to see a lot of changes. We're not going to see a lot of place differential plays. Even though it's not as significant as it is for NASCAR, I want to primarily focus on the guys who are starting in the top 10. In terms of what F1's doing in the future, or at least in terms of DFS, now that we're getting the Mercedes issues kind of squared away and kind of fixed, it's going to make F1 a lot more interesting, because before it was just straight up Red Bull versus Ferrari. Now, and we certainly saw it last weekend with George Russell, is that Ferrari is going to be here. There is a possibility, in my opinion, for Monaco to have 3 drivers from different teams in the podium. I would not be shocked to see either Leclerc or Verstappen win, and then the other one finish second, and then George Russell finish third. And then it really goes into, I'm still planning on, whoever I'm playing as my captain, I'm playing that constructor, but I would not be shocked to see, a situation moving forward to where maybe you don't necessarily need the winning constructor and the same captain. And I'm not saying play that this weekend. That's just a thought in my mind. And certainly I want to see what George Russell and Mercedes can bring up. Same thing with Lewis Hamilton, but Lewis Hamilton's still slightly behind George Russell in terms of what their speeds are. Entering this weekend, it is all about corner speed. Look, Monaco, as I said, there's going to be hardly no passing. There's really no place to do an overtake. Turn 1, exiting the DRS zone might be the one place, but I don't even think we're going to really see a lot of DRS in terms for the lead, because I fully believe that Ferrari has the advantage in the corners, and we've seen that time and time again this year, is that Red Bull has the advantage on the long straightaways, and the tracks that have the higher top speed and the higher average speed, we're seeing Max Verstappen and Ferrari do well. Now, granted, Verstappen has either been, winning the races or wrecking, but in terms of where these cars are in speed, it is all Red Bull on the long straightaways. Now that we're getting to Monaco, and we're seeing what Leclerc has had this year, certainly in the corners, and having the advantage over Verstappen in the corners, I got to lean towards Leclerc really being it's his race to lose this Monaco Grand Prix this time around. Same thing with George Russell. I really do believe that there's a chance that we see Russell really competing to finish third in this race. It's hard for me to see where Science is going to end up finishing. Just an interesting, very, very interesting weekend for F1 here. And I think the pricing on DraftKings really does reflect that. And I would argue that this is probably the best pricing we've had. It makes the guys at the bottom of the totem pole really hard to get in your line. I mean, granted, Albon had a tough time last weekend and didn't end up beating his Williams teammate. But the fact that this really is a race that is just fun to build lines for. Even right now, goofing around with what I want to do with lines, it makes it fun. We're seeing Mercedes slowly climb up there in terms of the constructor price as well. And so if we're building lines, it's no longer, hey, let's do one of Leclerc and one of Verstappen in each line. I really like the idea of going Leclerc as the captain, then going George Russell, and not necessarily worrying about who's going to finish second in this race and trying to get in the rest of the guys who are going to be in the top 10. And so, in my opinion, Lando Norris is a guy that I love in this race. Same thing with Bottas. I think Bottas is going to perform extremely well this week in the tight corners. I think this is a chance that does lean towards Haas being able to be right on the edge of getting points. And so I wouldn't be shocked if we see both Kevin and Mick running anywhere from 12th to 9th in this race. Clearly, Magnussen got screwed last weekend early. But it's a situation where I think Magnussen is probably going to qualify in around the same position, around 9th or 8th again. And can he hold on to that position? I think he can. At the bottom of the totem pole, between, Latifi, same thing with Albon, Vettel, Stroll. These guys, we are just playing these guys for the 5-point bonus over the teammate. We're not playing these guys to get in the points. I don't foresee these guys getting in the points unless either Vettel just shows up and he's like stupidly faster than any of the other cars competing for the points. Then maybe we go that direction. What I would really prefer to do is either go to Gasly or Tsunoda, because I think they're going to be in the points. I wouldn't be shocked to see Tsunoda or Gasly qualify 9th and finish 9th, and that's going to be huge when it actually does come to lineup construction and what ends up being the optimal line. So entering this weekend, I like Leclerc. I like the speed that Red Bull is carrying. I like what Mercedes is improving on, and with how not bad Sainz performs, but with the inconsistency that we've seen from Sainz and Perez, I think this is a very good weekend for George Russell and Mercedes, specifically because they got their porpoising issues squared away, and they're carrying a lot of speed in these corners. They're right up there. They're right behind, really Ferrari and Red Bull in terms of the speed in the corners. Yet again, going back to Norris, I think Norris is going to perform well. I think Bottas is going to perform well, and I'm really excited for Monaco. I know this is kind of a fast video and stuff, but look, it's Monaco. I at least want to talk about it, and I'm really looking forward to it. We're still going to put out a picks video, but I just want to make it real quick. So just going over real quick, I really like Leclerc. I like Leclerc to win the race. I think it's his to win or lose. If he loses, it's going to be on Ferrari. I think George Russell can easily compete for third, and I think depending on the issues, depending on how fast Verstappen is in practice and in qualifying, there is a chance that Russell can pass Verstappen for second. If not, I'm very comfortable projecting George Russell for third or fourth this weekend. Because of that, I think Bottas, I think Norris can show up, finish seventh or 6th, depending on wherever they finish, and then rounding out the lineup that I want to go with, I want to land on guys that I know are going to finish in the points versus guys that are going to finish 14th. And it's very much, I don't think we're going to see much passing. I think where you start is where you're going to finish, right around there, maybe 1 or 2 positions higher or lower, unless there's a catastrophe that happens with the driver. I fully believe that's how Monaco is going to play out. So keep that in mind. I think it's going to be a 1-lap leader type of race, even with a safety car, which if we do get a safety car, it'll probably be at the start of the race. I doubt we'll see one late in the event. And yeah, I think we're going to get all the crashes out of the way in the practices and the qualifying. So the race itself, I think it goes green. It's going to be 1 liter. We've seen it historically be 1 liter. There's very little passing. So nailing The captain is absolutely vital. Whoever you captain, you're expecting to win. You're also expecting to get not only the most laps led, but the fast laps as well. That's why I'm depending on what, like, it just comes down to what Leclerc does, because you're playing Leclerc, you're playing Ferrari. They're both going to get the fast lap, the fast lap extra point, but I don't think the constructor is going to get the podium bonus between that. And so it really, I mean, speaking optimal right here, or just speaking how it should go, it should be Leclerc and Ferrari as your driver and constructor. If Leclerc happens to wreck, and say, for example, he gets the fastest lap and Verstappen isn't able to get that late in the race, there's a chance that Mercedes can actually be the constructor to be optimal, just due to the price point, because you want to fit in as many other guys in your lineup as possible. So for me, at least right now, Thursday afternoon, obviously I'm going to be playing lineups built around Leclerc, but if Leclerc happens to run into an issue, I might do one line that has Mercedes as the constructor, and either with Russell or Verstappen in the captain position, hoping that Leclerc and Ferrari take the fastest lap off the board. I think that's the way to get different. Outside of that, we're dealing with the chalk plays of Leclerc and Ferrari as a constructor. I want to try and get up to as much of a balanced build as possible. I like Norris. That's just where I'm at. I like Bottas. And Tsunoda is the guy that I'm eyeing right now in the 4K range of where I want to go. And thank you for at least listening and tuning into the early preview. Don't want to bore too many people in terms of I doubt anybody's watching this anyway. But I want to make this real quick. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys later.